Welcome to the Phil and H Travel Podcast, Is It Worth It?
We are so glad you are tuning in today.
Yeah, we have a really fascinating deep dive for you today. Today's mission is all about auditing a very specific, honestly, highly unusual travel destination for your 2026 or 2027 calendar. We are talking about Montserrat.
Right, and we are going to walk you through exactly what it takes to get there, the costs, the logistics, and the reality on the ground.
Exactly. And just a quick note right at the top, if you're planning a trip and want the honest, is it worth it verdict before you book, follow the show on Spotify or Apple.
Yeah, please do. It really helps us out.
So let's just set the scene for a second. Picture yourself sitting at your laptop. Maybe you are desperately trying to plan your next tropical getaway. You want the standard stuff, right? Turquoise water, powdery white sand.
A swim-up bar.
Right, a swim-up bar. You want the logistics to just be totally invisible. You want it to be easy.
Which is, how the entire global tourism industry is built. It is designed to be the path of least resistance for you.
But with Montserrat, you pull up a map of this island, and the entire southern two-thirds of the island is literally crossed out.
Yeah, it is a legally sealed do not enter zone. It completely rewrites the rules of travel.
It really does. You are stepping into this landscape that has been profoundly altered by the Earth itself. It is a British overseas territory in the Eastern Caribbean. Barely 5,000 people live there.
And we really need to clarify our mission parameters right out of the gate here. This is not a typical vacation deep dive.
No, definitely not.
If you want that frictionless beach holiday, you will get severe whiplash. The source material makes it abundantly clear. Montserrat is all about complex access, raw geology, a market defined by scarcity, and obviously this massive volcanic exclusion zone.
So that is our baseline. We're going to decode the exact hidden costs, map out the logistical traps, and look at the historical footprint, and we're going to walk through all 11 segments of this briefing in order.
Right. Segment 1 is basically establishing that this is a contrarian Caribbean destination. The briefing makes this great claim. It says Montserrat is not a beach destination.
Yeah, it is a geology field trip that just happens to have beaches.
Exactly. And that all traces back to the Soufriere Hills volcano. So back in 1995, this volcano woke up catastrophically. And by 1997, it had completely buried the old capital city of Plymouth.
Like literally buried it. We're not talking about a dusting of ash here.
No, meters of rock and mud. It is a modern-day Pompeii. But the inflection point for 2026 and 2027 is that the volcano is now at hazard level 1.
Which is the lowest active designation, right?
Right. It is closely monitored, but it is relatively calm, and that calm is driving a massive surge in dark tourism. People are traveling just to see Plymouth, while the locals are trying to rebuild their capital up north in Little Bay.
But getting to that safe zone in the north is a massive reality check. Let's look at the upfront costs.
The logistics are tough.
Yeah, because there are 0 direct international flights to Montserrat. None.
You cannot just fly in from New York or London. Every trip is a complex two-leg operation.
So let's trace it. Say you fly from the U.S. or the U.K. You are paying roughly $500 to $900 just to get to Antigua's VC Bird International Airport.
Right, that is your first leg.
And then you grab your bags and you face this mandatory second leg. You basically have 2 choices. Choice 1 is a tiny 20-minute flight.
On a little twin prop plane.
Yeah, and that costs about $110 to $125 one way. Plus, they hit you with up to $71 in taxes.
Or you can try choice 2, which is the ferry.
Right, the ferry is about $100 one way or 275 East Caribbean dollars.
Yeah.
But every single source we looked at throws a massive red flag on this ferry.
Oh, yeah. It has a terrible history of going offline. It is highly susceptible to ocean swells and mechanical issues.
So you were basically paying double the travel costs just to get there, which makes me ask, what am I not getting?
Well, the briefing gives you explicit skip-if criteria. If you want swim-up bars, casinos, or lively bar strips, just skip it.
Basically any typical resort stuff.
Yeah. And mostly you are dealing with volcanic gray and black sand beaches. There is really only one white sand beach, Rendezvous Bay, and you have to hike or take a boat just to get to it.
Oh, okay. So moving to segment 2, timing your escape. Since getting there is such a massive project, when you go totally dictates if you even get a bed.
Timing is everything here. The dry season is your best bet. So that is December through June.
And the sources mention these Christmas winds, right?
Yes, the Christmas winds keep things really comfortable from January through April. You are looking at the high 70s Fahrenheit, which is pretty perfect.
But is there a sweet spot in there?
February is prime for hiking in the Center Hills. You get clear views of the volcano from spots like Jackboy Hill and Garibaldi Hill.
What about for value?
For value, May is the ultimate sweet spot. Great weather, but the prices start dropping.
I gotta be honest, I wince when I look at the hurricane season.
Yeah, June through October. Direct hits are rare, but tropical storms are a massive issue. They will cancel the ferries and the flights. You could get totally stranded.
So I guess September and October are the ultimate under-tourism bargain, but it is a huge weather gamble.
A massive gamble. I would not risk it if you have a tight schedule.
Now let's talk about the crowds, because there is a really fascinating anomaly here.
Oh, the St. Patrick's Festival.
Yeah. The island is practically empty year-round, except for roughly March 7th to the 17th.
Right. It is the only place outside Ireland where March 17th is a public holiday.
But it is not just some imported kitsch to sell beer, right?
Not at all. It commemorates a failed slave uprising that was planned for March 17th, 1768.
They chose that date because they knew the Irish overseers would be distracted by the holiday.
Exactly. It is a really profound cultural event, but logistically you have to know that cars, beds, and flights basically vanish during this week.
So if you want quiet, avoid mid-March like the plague.
And there is also a mini peak around January 1st for Christmas and Carnival.
So you really need to target your stays in the northern zones. Places like Little Bay, which is the new hub, or Braids, the admin center.
Salem and Ulveston are great for villas, and Sweeney's is right near the airport.
And one huge plus for a lot of people, there is zero cruise ship pressure year-round.
None at all.
Okay, segment 3, touching down, getting off the plane.
The arrival is pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, the briefing says flying in on those small twin props, like Fly Montserrat or SVG Air, gives you these amazing aerial views of the volcano dome.
You can see the whole gray scar of the exclusion zone before you even land.
Then you touch down at the tiny John A. Osborne Airport in Gerald Park. Fast immigration, super low stress.
Or you arrive by sea at Little Bay. But again, that 90-minute crossing can be super choppy.
And the ferry gets suspended so often, you really have to treat it as a bonus, not a definitive plan.
Exactly. But once you arrive, you hit the first real on-the-ground friction point.
Transport.
Right. There is no real public bus network.
Wait, no buses at all?
Basically none that a tourist can rely on. Now, the inhabited zone is compact, so taxis are cheap. Usually 40 to 70 EC dollars, which is about 15 to 26 US dollars, to get from the airport to a guest house.
But they aren't metered, are they?
No, you have to agree on the fare first, and honestly, they just aren't endlessly isleable. There are only a few pabs on the island.
So it is incredibly peaceful, no touts yelling at you. But that peace means you absolutely must have your transport prearranged. You cannot just wing it when you land.
No, you really can't. Which brings us to segment 4, where to actually sleep.
This blew my mind. Montserrat has fewer than 20 formal properties.
Less than 20. It is an extreme scarcity market.
The rates average about 72 US dollars for budget, $121 low season average, and $202 in the high season.
The briefing breaks this down into 4 traveler archetypes.
Right, so first is the backpacker or budget traveler. They're looking at places in St. Peter's, Salem, or Woodlands.
The source highlights Gingerbread Hill for about $72 a night. Great views and local knowledge.
But there is a huge caveat.
Yeah, no hostel party scene at all. And if you don't have a car, you will be heavily reliant on taxis, which eats your budget fast.
What about the mid-range couple?
They are looking at places like Tropical Mansion Suites in Sweeney's. It runs in the mid-hundreds during high season and actually has a pool.
Or Ulveston House, right? I read that was George Martin's former home.
The Beatles producer, yeah. Very cool history. But the caveat here is that these places are comfortable, but they are not resort glossy. You aren't getting 5-star amenities.
Okay, then the family traveler, they need villas in Ulveston, Woodlands, or Old Town, like the Grandview B&B for around $150 a night.
Families absolutely need kitchens for self-catering.
But the risks for families are high.
Very high. You are totally dependent on rental cars, and the medical facilities are really basic, which is a major risk with young kids.
And finally, the luxury traveler. They are booking private, boutique villas overlooking the Belém Valley or the sea for several $100s a night.
But again, you are paying for privacy, not for a butler or 5-star service luxury.
I love the analogy the expert source used here. They compared the whole accommodation market to a small, private country club.
It is spot on. You have to book well in advance, especially for Christmas and St. Patrick's. And you trade walkability for profound quiet.
All right, moving to segment 5, goat water and sticker shock. We have to talk about food.
The daily survival aspect. The food scene is small, very local, and heavily reliant on imports.
You have dining spots like Ziggy's, Ulveston House, and some beach bars at Little Bay and Woodlands.
But let's look at the prices.
Okay, the currency is pegged at 2.70 East Caribbean dollars to $1. So a cheap meal is about 19 US dollars. A mid-range dinner for two is $48.
A fast food combo is 7.40, a beer is 2.60.
And a cappuccino is 6.30.
But the real shock comes at the grocery store.
What egg index? I love this part.
If you go to Ram Supermarket in Braids, bread is $3, milk is 3.3.
About a dozen eggs is 7.1 US dollars.
And a kilo of chicken breast is 9.3 euro.
It is insane, but it perfectly illustrates the import premium. Everything has to be shipped in on a very complicated, fragile supply line.
Exactly. You are paying for all that logistical friction.
What about the vibe and etiquette, though?
Very relaxed, courteous, and church-going. You should dress modestly off the beach and tip about 10%.
But what if I just want a late-night snack? Like, do shops stay open?
Oh no, shops close very early and stock is super limited.
So you really can't rely on a 9 p.m. impromptu snack run.
No, you need meticulous meal planning. If you didn't buy it by 4 p.m., you probably aren't eating it tonight.
Which brings us perfectly to segment 6, calculating the daily spend.
This builds right on those food costs.
But the briefing gives a massive warning here. The connection cost, those flights from Antigua, is the silent budget killer.
Right. Let's look at the daily budgets. For a backpacker, they estimate about $122 a day. That is a $72 bed, $25 for food, $10 for transport, $5 for a hike, and a $10 buffer.
But wait, if you rely on taxis, doesn't that destroy the $122 budget?
Oh, absolutely. A few unmetered taxi rides and your budget is totally blown.
So mid-range is probably more realistic.
Yeah, mid-range is about $175 a day per person. That assumes you are splitting a nice room for maybe $60, spending $45 on food, $30 for your half of a rental car, $25 for a guided volcano tour, and a $20 buffer.
And the briefing really highlights that as the most comfortable and realistic tier.
It is the sweet spot for sure.
But then you look at the family budget. Wow.
It is brutal.
Roughly $440 a day for a family of 4, a $200 villa, $90 for food, $60 for the car, $50 for activities, and a $40 buffer.
So over 5 nights, that is $2,200.
And that is before flights. Think about the hidden multiplier of buying 4 Antigua to Montserrat connection flights. That is another $180 return per person.
Right, that adds up so fast.
For luxury, you're at about $660 a day, a $350 villa, $80 for a driver, $100 for food. And for a digital nomad, it is about $2,800 a month.
$1,200 for rent, $600 for food, $700 for a car, and $300 for internet.
So when you look at all this value, staying a full week actually seems like a bad idea.
The sources say it is bad value to stay a whole week. You can see all the major sites in 2 or 3 days.
Right, the real value is the free hiking and just the total lack of crowds.
Don't overpay for days you don't need.
Okay, segment 7, the 3 logistics traps. I feel like this is crucial warning territory.
Yes, if you treat this place like a normal Caribbean island, you will fall into these traps.
So trap 1 is the 2-leg access trap.
Right. People book a cheap flight to Antigua, and then they assume they can just easily hop over.
But then they find out the Montserrat leg is sold out, or the ferry is suspended.
Exactly. And the consequence is an unplanned $150 night in a hotel in Antigua.
So the fix is just to book both legs simultaneously.
Always. Never book your main flight until you know you have a seat on that tiny connection.
Trap 2 is the no car, no access trap,
People assume they can just walk or easily grab taxis everywhere.
which leaves you literally stranded at your hillside guest house.
You have to budget $50 to $60 a day for a rental. Plus, you have to buy a local driving permit for $18.
Oh, and you have to be prepared to drive on the left side of the road on these super narrow hills.
Not for the faint of heart.
Trap 3 is the exclusion zone access trap. Imagine some tourist just trying to drive their rental car right into the buried city of Plymouth for a photo.
Oh, they would be in massive trouble. The southern 2/3 is a legally sealed zone.
Even the maritime zones are restricted, right?
Yeah, boats can only pass through during daylight without stopping. If you try to sneak in on land, you face checkpoints, huge fines, and you basically waste your day.
The fix is simple, though. Just pay the $50 to $100 for an authorized guide.
Right. These traps really reinforce the central theme of this whole briefing. The island severely punishes assumptions, but it really rewards preparation.
Segment 8. Safety, solo travel, and comfort. The risk hierarchy here is totally flipped from typical destinations.
Crime is practically non-existent.
Yeah, no pickpockets, no resort security issues.
The real threats are geological. Pyroclastic flows, lahars, which are these volcanic mud flows, and ashfall.
You absolutely have to obey the Montserrat Volcano Observatory and the Disaster Management Coordination Agency.
Exactly. There are secondary hazards, too, like steep hikes, the intense sun, and flash floods in the Belém Valley.
What about solo female travel?
It is very safe and incredibly low hassle, but the isolation can be a drawback.
Right, the sources suggest staying near Salem, Ulveston, or Little Bay, so you weren't totally alone in the woods.
But the harshest caveat in this whole safety segment is the medical reality.
Glendon Hospital.
Yeah, they only handle the absolute basics. If you have a serious issue, you require a medevac flight to Antigua.
So travel insurance with evacuation cover is absolutely non-negotiable.
Do not skip the insurance. A helicopter airlift could bankrupt you.
Okay, segment 9, the payoff and the letdowns. After all of that friction, what actually makes this place magical?
The unique payoffs are incredible. Standing on Garibaldi Hill or Jack Boy Hill and looking down at the buried city of Plymouth.
Doing that $50 to $100 guided tour.
Yes. It is a sobering, world-class experience. The Montserrat Volcano Observatory is also amazing value.
And for nature lovers, hiking the Center Hills to find the endemic Montserrat oriole costs literally nothing.
Or kayaking out to Rendezvous Bay to find total, pristine isolation.
But we have to balance that with the honest letdowns. Mostly dark sand beaches.
Basically zero nightlife.
And all those cool photos of Plymouth online, they hide the heavy bureaucracy and permits required to actually get them.
So again, the takeaways, don't overpay for a week. 2 to 3 days is plenty.
Segment 10, the alternatives. Just in case the listeners decided this is way too much work.
The sources provide 2 alternatives. Alternative 1 is Dominica.
Because it is also rugged and volcanic, right?
Exactly. Nature first, but it has vastly easier flight access, better biodiversity, and way more trails.
So it is better for pure nature lovers on a budget.
Right.
But you lose the Plymouth dark tourism and the Irish heritage stuff.
Right. Alternative 2 is Antigua.
The polar opposite. Direct flights, massive resorts, white sand.
But the brilliant strategy the sources suggest is a hybrid. Don't choose between them.
Oh, right. Make Antigua your base camp.
Yes. Treat Montserrat as a 2 or 3 day add-on. You save money, avoid the fatigue of a long stay in a scarcity market, and you get the best of both worlds.
Which brings us to our final section, segment 11, the Is It Worth It matrix.
Let's run through the rigid verdicts from the source.
Okay. Backpacker gets a 5.5 out of 10.
The verdict there is to skip it if you're counting every dollar. That $110 flight will break you. Go to Dominica instead.
Midrange gets a 7 out of 10.
This is the strongest audience. Totally worth it for a 2 to 3 day add-on if you can stick to that $175 daily budget.
Family gets a 5 out of 10.
Skip it with young kids. The medevac risks and the $440 a day costs are just too much. Stay in Antigua.
Luxury gets a 4.5 out of 10.
Skip it if you want 5-star spa service. You are paying $660 a day just for quiet and a nice villa.
And finally, the digital nomad gets a 5.5 out of 10.
Very niche. Good for one focused, quiet month if you can stomach the variable internet speeds.
So synthesizing all of that, the ultimate message for you, the listener, it is worth it for logistics-tolerant, volcano-curious travelers visiting in February or May as an add-on to Antigua.
It depends entirely on your willingness to book 2 legs, drive on the left, and appreciate geology over luxury.
Exactly.
Before we go, there's this final, broader thought that really naturally emerges from this whole text.
I'm intrigued. What is it?
Think about the concept of a modern exclusion zone acting as an accidental time capsule.
Oh, wow, yeah.
By sealing off 2/3 of the island, humanity was forced to step back. It allowed nature to entirely reclaim a modern capital.
It is wild to think about.
It asks you to ponder, what happens to a culture when its geographical center is permanently erased? How does a community build a future on the very northern tip of its past?
That is a staggering thought to end on. If this gave you the honest verdict you needed, follow the show. New episodes dropped every day.
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.